After a months-long rebellion from the districts, a heavily damaged capital emerged victorious. 18-year-old Coriolanus Snow finds himself in a competitive position to restore the name of his once wealthy and powerful family as he's appointed to be a mentor in the Hunger Games, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I'm Ronald Young Jr., and I'm leaving the theater. All right, this is Ronald, and I'm leaving the theater after seeing The Hunger Games, A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. The Hunger Games, A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Written by Michael Lesslie and Michael Arndt, directed by Francis Lawrence, starring Tom Blyth, Rachel Zegler, Josh Andres Rivera, Peter Dinklage, Hunter Schafer, and Viola Davis. And as always, for a complete cast listing, you can check the link in our show notes. Surprise, surprise, y'all. I am not here alone.
No, you aren't.
I am here with
the young man from the reaping, J.C. Howard.
the young man from the reaping, J.C. Howard. This is
District 12 as always, you know?
District 11 is the black district.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I mean, I know District 12 is like Kentucky, it's like the Appalachian, but I didn't realize that 11 is the black district.
It is.
Right. Repping District 11 then, for sure.
Well, here's the thing. Like, there was a big controversy because everyone found out that Rue was black.
Right.
And they all got really upset.
Yes.
And in the books, it's like, clearly they were black.
Yes.
And so everyone was like, what are y'all talking about?
Yeah. No, I remember that whole controversy, and I was a huge fan of the books. And I remember specifically in the books, it says she's like, has like a bronze skin tone, and like she had something like, basically she had nappy hair. So I'm like, yeah, this is absolutely not a surprise.
Like Jesus.
Yeah, that's a word. That's a word.
All right, we're already off the rails here on Leaving the Theater. Okay, so The Hunger Games, A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is a prequel to the Hunger Games book series written by Susan Collins. It was also a book, has now been adapted to a movie, and it talks about the rise of President Snow. I will not even attempt to say his first name. I feel like everyone was saying it.
Coriolanus.
Coriolanus Snow.
Or if you're close to him, Corio.
Corio,
yes.
Corio, like Oreo, but we won't even get into that. So this movie it tells about the rise of Coriolanus Snow and the beginning of the Hunger Games, set against the backdrop of an ever-changing Panem. J.C. Howard, what do you think of this movie?
Okay, so I read the book back in 2020. I'm going to take you back to a time, right? In the middle of COVID, I go into a bookstore.
This is called vamping.
Yes, yeah, no. I see a book by Suzanne Collins. I'm like, oh my God, another Hunger Games book? Because again, I read all three books way back in the day. So I said, I'm going to pick up this book. And I will tell you, it took me through COVID in a lot of ways. Like, I loved the book. So when I finished the book, I said to myself, this should absolutely be a TV series. I hope they never make it into a movie. And here we are, having made it into a movie. And I think the movie was good. I thought it was very good, especially as someone who read the book and then reread the book in preparation for this movie. I thought the movie was spectacular. I do wonder, from someone like you, because I don't think you did read the book.
I did not.
Okay. I wonder what you think, because I'm juiced. I'm stoked. I come out of that and I'm like, yeah, that was the book. But I kind of wonder what you think, because I loved it.
I thought it was mid. I think the thing is, like, there were two movies here, and this is kind of something all of us critics were kind of discussing as we walked out of here. It's 2 hours and 38 minutes, which incidentally is the same length as Napoleon, a movie which I saw before this one, but listeners, you will not hear that until after you hear this review. It is also 2 hours and 38 minutes, almost 3 hours, well on its way to 3 hours. And watching this movie, the first movie is very much about the 10th Hunger Games, in which they first start introducing mentors, and I really enjoyed that movie. There was a lot going on there, but then at that point, after those Hunger Games end, a new movie begins, a whole entire new movie. And at that point, I was watching it. I was interested in that movie. And that is when I turned to you and said, this should have been a TV series. And you almost rose from your chair and spun in the air because you're like, yes. You turned to your wife, Vika, who is filming us now. Shout out to Vika.
Shout out to Vika.
you turned to her and said, Ronald just said this should have been a series, which was incredible. So I actually 100% agree with you on that.
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely can see that from someone who didn't read the books, it would absolutely be mid, which to me is very much a reflection of the former movies, right? The first three, or however you see it, like the Hunger Games, Mockingjay, and Catching Fire. Those were all pretty mid as well.
I think this was better. I think this was better than those.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a better story. The thing is, as you said, this is a prequel, right? This is establishing. You see this like President Snow character in the previous books, and it's like, how is this guy kind of evil incarnate or whatever? Like, how does this happen, right? So this was that. This is that story, and you get to have that. So I think those. I mean, it's like a Joker origin story or whatever, right? It's like
didn't like that either.
No, right. So not to say that there's but it's a good story. It's a good kind of setup. It's a good setup to a story. So yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that someone who didn't read the books thinks that it's mid, because that's exactly how I felt about the first three movies, or first four movies.
The only reason why I think that it's mid, though, is because the first movie and the second movie, I think, could have been like both edited down in a way that made all of it better, and maybe just make both of these 2 hours long. And
the first two parts kind of this movie.
Yes, I know you're talking. Yeah. you're doing the NPR reporter thing where you're talking exactly. And I appreciate it. I'm still talking about this movie as if it is two separate movies, to be clear. Yeah. But I'm saying if they would have taken those two parts and made them into full movies of their own, I think those would have been good. But I will tell you, I was watching this movie and I was sitting there thinking, that it is better than the originals, and I was more engrossed in the plot. But it was funny to me because I was like, but without the originals, I wouldn't appreciate a lot of the things that I'm seeing right now, like even the origin of the games and how it turned into what it became later. So I thought that was good. I will say a drawback for me was I did not really like Rachel Zegler's acting. I thought she was overacting, like she was in a different film sometimes, and the singing turned it into a musical at times, which I was like...
I do wish that everyone could see my wife Vika right now.
There's a visual moment happening.
Yes, she is dancing in joy, because she said the exact same thing to me as far as Rachel Zegler's accent is specifically what she said.
Oh my God, what was that?
Vika turned to me and said I hate her accent, and I said I love it. So again, so here's the thing. I'm gonna draw.
Sorry.
I'm gonna draw the red line in the sand and say this is all this movie comes.
Wait, why is the line red in the sand?
Blue line. You're right.
You don't have to draw it. It's just sand.
It's just sand. Just stop it. Come on. I got. It's my sand. So I'm drawing the line in the sand, and the thing is, on one side of the line are people who read the books, and on the other side of the line are people who didn't read the book.
Yes.
And for me, Rachel Zegler's accent, her acting, she was Lucy Gray Baird. Like, when you read the books, it's written in this kind of Southern vernacular that is, it is a voice in your mind. When you're reading those words, you hear a very specific voice, you hear very specific charm and intonation. And when I came into this movie, I was thinking, if they don't nail that, and I was thinking Rachel Zegler wouldn't be able to do it, but I felt like if you can't nail that, then it's not going to really be Lucy Gray. And honestly, it was Lucy Gray. So I take the point. It may be an annoying thing, but she was Lucy Gray. That's all I'm looking for.
I just think that there was probably a better actor who could have done exactly what she wanted, and still, from the first time we see her on screen, she is thrown down on a stage at one point, and then she turns to the guards and says, "Give me a minute, fellas," and then has her head down and then dramatically begins singing in a way that I was like, okay, it feels too contrived in a way that I think that the original Hunger Games felt a lot more grounded in a lot of ways, where I'm just like, okay, no, this makes sense. But the way she was singing, lights came up on the stage, and at one one point I panicked because I was like, oh, geez, are we watching a musical? Like, I don't want this to be a musical.
Okay, but the book, I'm just saying.
Oh, my God.
I'm here to be the book for you. What can I say? The book has
This is the classic, the book.
The book is better than the movie, right? Yeah. But actually, in this case, the book enhances the movie. The book gives you a lot of the internal conflict, all the internal thoughts that are going on with a lot of these characters. So it gives you, it's kind of like a footnotes and says like, okay, this is what's really going on. So if you read that, then you can enjoy the movie a little bit more. Yeah. But I will say, I agree with that, right? Like I thought the accent was fine. I thought the accent was good. I thought the singing was great because again, the music is a big part of the book because it's the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Like it has to have the music in it. Where I did loathe Rachel Zegler is her facial expressions.
Too much?
She did the Kerry Washington.
Too much?
She did the half, like almost gonna smile and then like frown and then like jumpy and afraid. And it's like, I didn't like it when Kerry Washington did that in Scandal, so I'm not gonna like it when you do that here. But other than that, other than those micro expressions, I was okay with it.
So let me say this. Knowing all of that, let me just say my favorite J.C. Howard is J.C. Howard that's defending a movie. Like it is my favorite. Even more than you hating a movie, you defending a movie is just, you're so measured and kind. I really appreciate that. All right, so let's just with all of that being said, what do you rate this movie out of 5 stars?
I will say,
I'm already upset with you.
4.5.
I already knew 4.5.
4.5 if you read the book. 2.5 if you did not. I'm not going to even say that you should see this movie if you didn't read the book, but if you did read the book, you must watch this movie.
What is an average of 4.5 and 2.5?
That sounds like it's 3, but I'm not great at math, so
all right,
3.
Well, the good thing is I'm giving this movie a 3, so this works out. This works out perfectly. This works out perfectly. Yeah. So yeah, I would give this 3 of 5 stars. I think it was incomplete. I think when we get to the end, there's a couple of things that happen where I still don't even understand like why we don't find out about the burns in his mouth or like the blood or any of that stuff, which I thought for sure was going to come up in this movie, but the roses came up and that didn't, which bothered me a little bit. Again, the acting, I think from Tom Blyth was pretty good. From Rachel Zegler was just not like my favorite. I think the people around them were, fine. I really enjoyed Hunter Schafer as Tigress. I thought they did a really good job. But other than that, it's just, it's right down the middle. It's 3. I would watch this again if it were on TV, but I would not seek this out by any means.
I would say if you want to watch it again, just read the Wikipedia page. So you get it's like reading the book. Read the Wikipedia page, then watch it again.
I might read the book.
Please read the book. Please read the book, and then we will talk about the book too. Okay. I would love that.
Yeah, we'll do a Patreon edition. We'll do Leaving the Library, and we'll talk about the book. And with that, Leaving the Theater is a production of Oh, It's Big Rod Studios. Alexandra Ketch of Bias Studios mixes the show. Thank you, Alex. Show art from Heather Wilder. Theme music by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. For more information about The Hunger Games, A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, or J.C. Howard, check out our show notes. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, or Threads at Oh, It's Big Ron. That's at OHITS BIGRON. You can find out more about this show and other Oh, It's Big Ron Studios shows by following us on Instagram at Oh, It's Big Ron Studios and on Twitter at Oh, It's Big Ron Stu. That's STEW. Leaving the Theater will be back soon. Thanks for listening. And thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And thanks, Vika, for being here.
That was awesome. Thanks, you guys.
Awesome. All right, this is Ronald, and I'm leaving the theater after seeing Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbird. The Hunger Games, A Ballad of Song. All right, this is Ronald, and I am leaving the theater after seeing